guys, and I am really sorry if this is a bad angle because I've had to use books as a tripod because my tripod's broken and my new one's not coming until tomorrow, and I kind of wanted to film this video right now. So this is a book review of Maybe Someday and Maybe Not by Colleen Hoover. This is the book's Maybe Someday, and then the novella is Maybe Not, which I read literally straight afterwards. So yeah, I did read Slam, but I haven't done a review of it, so if anybody wants to see a review of it, definitely comment down below and I'll definitely do one if you want to see that. Maybe Someday is about a girl who just finds out her boyfriend is cheating on her with her best friend, and she moves in with the guy across the balcony who she's been kind of crushing on his guitar skills for a while because he sits on his balcony and he plays his guitar but he never sings any lyrics, and she sort of makes up lyrics to his songs, and he notices that and says, look, you move in and you help me write songs, and that sounds like a good plan. So they do that, and he's deaf, and I think that's a really big point to make for this book, that he's deaf, because firstly that it's so different to anything I've ever read before, and secondly it's dealt with so well. It's not dealt with like it's this big weird thing. It's just, that's how he is. It's just like it's another trait of his personality, which I absolutely loved. My dad's deaf, so I thought the representation of Ridge as being deaf was really just a great one. So yeah, that's my first point about it. I really loved how it was dealt with. So all of his conversations with the main character Sydney are done in text messages or over Facebook, because he doesn't speak. He can speak, but he just doesn't. So, and the one thing I think I really want to mention about this book is that there is a soundtrack that has the actual songs that they write on it, sung by Griffin Peterson. I'll link the link down below. I got it when it was free for the anniversary of the book, but I definitely would recommend listening to that soundtrack as you read the book. What I did is I didn't listen to any of the songs before I read the book. I listened to them as they wrote them so that I understood fully their reasons for writing them, which I really love doing. So I definitely recommend doing that if you can, because it just enhanced the whole reading of it, because you can hear the emotions in Griffin's voice and it's so good. It really made me cry like on multiple occasions. So yeah, I definitely recommend doing that. The songs they write are beautiful too, and it's such a good song, so if you like acoustic songs, I'd listen to it anyway, like even if you don't plan on reading this book. So this book is new adult, so it's definitely not, I wouldn't recommend it for anybody who's not comfortable with that, but I definitely recommend it for anybody who's comfortable with it. There's like one explicit sex scene, but there's not many in it. There's not enough that I think that it's like, I'm not gonna say, like with The Vanishing Girl when I said, yeah, over 16s probably only, but this one's sort of like, I think it's okay if you feel like you're mature enough for it. But I love the characters. They were so good. Every character felt fleshed out. Like, even minor characters who weren't in that many scenes, like Brennan, I felt like I understood him, even though we met him like once, and Sydney was drunk while we met him, and so we didn't really see him speak or anything. I just really felt like I understood him from like Ridge's perspective and stuff like that. We felt like we knew all the characters that are involved, which is something I really love about Colleen Hoover's books. Because they're standalones, you feel like you're not going to get to know them as well as you would in a whole trilogy of books, but I feel like I get to know her characters so well just in the one book, and it's only like 400 pages, and I feel like I know her characters better than I know some of the characters I've had in trilogies. I really understand what makes them tick and stuff, and that's what I really love that. And it's not just they're not just typical sweet contemporaries, they're very dramatic, and always, like throughout the book, I'd be like, oh, she's going to do this and it's going to be so cliche and it's going to ruin the whole book for me, and then she'd do something completely different. Like, there are moments when it feels like it's going to be cliche and it feels like you're going to go one way, and then Colleen Hoover goes a different way and it makes it just perfect. And the whole book I was like, how is it even going to end? Because there's a lot of stuff that if it ended that way, I think it wouldn't have been well done. Like, there are certain things between the two characters that you really feel like if they got together in the end that way, it just would never work out and you would not see them being together in the end. So I was really glad with the way she ended it, because it felt really natural to the story and to the characters and to realistic human nature, I think. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. So I really loved this book. I give it 5 out of 5 stars, and I definitely recommend Colleen Hoover's books. I've only read two of them, 3 if you count the novella, but I really loved it. So now I'll get on to the maybe not of a novella. So I heard someone say about maybe not, they didn't want to read it because they were worried that Sydney and it was gonna like break up the story of Sydney and Ridge, but it doesn't. It's from Warren's point of view. It runs before Maybe Someday and throughout until the middle of Maybe Someday, and I really loved it. Warren and Bridget's romance was something that while reading Maybe Someday I just laughed at, and I really wanted to understand what happened to them when Sydney wasn't there and Ridge wasn't there, and I really wanted to know what happens between them, like, because their relationship is so complex that you feel like you don't understand it at all, because Sydney and Ridge don't understand it, but when you read Maybe Not, it's so sweet and so adorable and you just love their characters, and I really want to read Maybe Someday again just so I can see their relationship again, because it was just so sweet. I really loved it. Warren and Bridget are really complex in the fact that Bridget doesn't really think she wants a relationship, and they start off just having sex and then go on to be more when Warren finally gets her to open up. This one though, definitely 18 plus. Probably. This was very, like, I'm okay with it, but it was very, like, most of the 120 something pages of the book were made up of Bridget and Warren having sex. So just be warned with this one, it's not as clean as Maybe Someday is. So that was my review of Maybe Someday and Maybe Not, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.